Dumelang and welcome to Sidilega Maikutlo episode. And today we are privileged and honored to be having our very first guest. And before that, my name is Gaolatlhege and I am your host on Sidilega Maikutlo, where we are changing the narrative on mental health together. So today we are with Mr. Keabetswe Bagomi. He is the author of the Valley of the Shadow of Death, where he says we are embracing light in life's darkest moments. So right about now, we are going to hear from him. Dumelang.
You, Madam Ma, how are you?
I'm great, and how are you?
I'm great. I'm great.
Right. Can you
Mm.
please tell us a bit about yourself?
No, thank you so much, and thank you for having me. And before I get into anything, let me just congratulate you on this podcast. And I'm the first guest here, so
Yes.
thank you so much. And I believe we are going to have a blast. So I'm Keabetswe Bagomi, like you have already mentioned, and I'm an educator. I'm a mentor. I'm a businessman. I do quite a number of things, but one of the things that I take pride in doing is assisting learners in different institutions, especially those that are far off. So that is what I do, talking to companies so that they can adopt such schools to help learners in those institutions.
Yes.
Yeah, so that is something that I'm really passionate about. But most importantly, what I'm here for, I'm also an author
Book.
of this book, The
Yes.
Valley of the Shadow of Death.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. So can you please tell us again? Because sharing pain and trauma is not a very easy thing.
Yeah.
Can you tell us about the fears that you had to face before writing this and publishing your story?
Yeah. So one of the very first things that I can talk about, Kana, this is a very sensitive topic.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you can imagine you are coming out with a story that is some sort of a taboo, especially amongst men,
Yeah.
and you're going to carry your story to the rest of the world. So it's only normal that you have some sort of fear with going public with such information.
Yes.
So I did have some second thoughts about writing this book. Well, probably about taking it out because already I was writing it. I wasn't too sure about publishing it.
Yes.
Yeah, so until I talked to my mentor, who's also a man of God, a pastor. So he talked to me, we went through all the necessary stages. He assisted me until I was able to share my story publicly. And I can tell you the very first time I shared the story was at church.
Yeah.
I think maybe that is why I was comfortable enough to take it from there afterwards.
Yes.
So like any human being, I was rattled at first. Should I share it or should I just keep it to myself?
Yes.
But I'm glad I shared it. I'm glad I shared the story.
Yes. All right. From sharing your story, have you ever had men come to you and say that we are grateful and thankful for you to be sharing the story? We are now open. We are now opening up
Yeah.
to sharing our own story.
Oh yes,
Yeah.
quite a number,
Mm.
especially on social media. People are going through a lot.
Yeah.
I can tell you that people are going through a lot because the very first time after I launched this book in Francistown, because I did multiple launches, after launching it in Francistown, people are coming forward with their own stories. That is the power of a story. Once you share your story, you are empowering others to come forth with theirs. This is a healing story. It's not a story of devastation, of disappointment, of hopelessness. No, it's a story of hope, of courage, of restoration. So after I shared it, that's why people were starting, okay, let us come forward. They were sharing similar experiences.
Yes.
Some were deeper than mine, but I thank God that I was able to help them come forward because, as you know, men are going through a lot and they never come forward.
Yes.
And that is why we have the statistics that we have in Botswana.
Yes.
Um,
All right. So in your book, you mentioned a lot about depression and
mhm.
suicide. So I wanted to understand right now that if depression had a voice, what did it tell you on a daily basis?
That's a very good question. I will tell you one thing the 365 days in 2020, every single day of my life in 2020, one, one phrase or sentence that came to me every morning, every night was how worthless I am.
Hmm.
Yeah, so that is one thing that stuck with me the whole of 2020. I felt worthless.
Mm.
That's how I felt.
Mm.
That was the voice of depression in my ear.
Mm.
Mm.
Mm. So one of the attempts that you made, the one that you didn't go through,
Yeah.
was hanging by rafters, but you didn't go through it.
No, I didn't.
You also wrote on a shirt,
Yeah.
or I'm sorry.
Yeah, I did.
I want to understand what was that message for? Who were you apologizing to?
Yeah, you know, come to think of it, you know, when I see somebody posting on social media about suicide, I sort of understand what they're feeling at that particular moment because I felt cornered. Like I had said earlier on, I felt worthless. So I felt like I was disappointment to a lot of people around me.
Yes.
So the reason why I wrote I'm sorry on that white t-shirt is because I thought I had failed them. So I didn't want to write anything, a lot of things. I just wanted to apologize to them. Although there was no way I was going to explain what I meant, but in my heart I meant that I'm sorry that I disappointed you. So that is the message.
Yeah.
I felt like I wasn't, I hadn't lived up to what I was supposed to be. So that is why I was apologizing to my mom, to my kid, to my lecturers, to my pastors, to everybody around me.
Yes.
Yeah.
During that time where in 2020 where nothing, there was no light at all.
Mhm.
Did you have people that were coming to you trying to help you overcome what you were going through?
Yeah, Missy, I want to tell you the honest truth.
Yeah.
You know, we need to thank God for some friends. There are people who stick with you. I know most of the times we talk about bad friends,
Yeah.
but there are some people who are God sent, who
Mm.
will come to you, and they will come at you at the opportune time.
Mm.
Maybe you are planning on doing something on that particular day, and then that person just shows up, and they are not doing anything. They are not praying with you. They are not doing. They just come and they stay with you for a certain moment, then they go.
Mm.
So there were quite a number. I think I had two or three people
Yes.
who came through. Some they just left because I used to have a very huge circle.
Mm.
So after that experience, they fell off. They
Mm.
were nowhere to be found. The people I used to party with were nowhere to be found.
Mm.
The people I used to give money to, assist, they were nowhere to
Mm.
be found. This particular two people that I'm talking about, they are not. Our relationship is not transactional. There are
Mm.
people who are just there genuinely for
Mm.
me. They are still around even today. And
Yes.
most importantly, I had two pastors who were praying continuously for me.
Mm.
And the both of them, one is in Gaborone, he's based in Gaborone. But on one fateful day, he had to leave Gaborone with his wife
Mm.
and go find me because I was nowhere to be found on social media. I had taken a break from social media. So he went, he looked for me, although he didn't find me, but I only got to learn about this after that he came to my home village, he was looking for me.
Yeah.
And this other one, the second pastor, and he was able to come and locate me.
Mm.
So I'm very grateful to such people.
Yeah.
Mm.
So right now, there are people who end up giving up
Yeah.
on people who are going through what you went through.
True.
What would you say to those type of people who give up and say that there's no future here, we are tired of helping this person, they don't want to receive help?
Yeah.
What do you have to say to those people by they have but by they are going through depression, they want to commit
Mm.
suicide? How can they stand with them?
Another problem with such mentality, when I assist you, I want you to get better on my terms.
Oh.
You see, so I think when we are assisting people, that's one of the things we get wrong. I
Oh.
cannot dictate to you how you are going to get better or how soon should you get better.
Yeah.
No, that's not my place. What
Mm.
I'm supposed to do as a friend, as somebody who cares, is
Mm.
just to be there with you, just to walk that journey with you. So that is the most important thing. I feel like because I've seen what you're talking about is common. People just say, can I this person have been assisting him? All those things. But
Yes.
we just, I will tell you one thing now. Although I have gone through this path of depression and suicide ideation, I can never truly understand another person's story.
Oh yeah.
I just relate to their stories. I don't tell them what I can't say to them. Yeah, now I was healed in such a period. Or
Mm.
why are you not getting healed? Why are you not getting better? Because we are unique, we are different. Our stories are different. We just need to be understanding. That's the only thing we can do. You can assist somebody now, Messi. Even I go through this and it pains me. I can talk to somebody on Facebook. They come with that story. I listen to that story. I share my experiences. I'm there. And the next day, that person is gone.
Mm.
After all your effort, they
Mm.
are still gone because that person is unique, is different.
Mm.
What he's dealing with, the way he responds to things, you are two different people. The
Mm.
best that you can do is just to listen and to walk that path with them.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
All right.
Yeah.
That's an amazing one.
Yeah.
It's very insightful because it's something that we deal with a lot
Yeah.
of times. People
Mm.
do give up on others when they are
True.
going through something like that,
True.
when they're going through depression or suicide.
Mm.
One of the things that you also wrote on your book in your attempt to suicide was that you did some self-harming.
I did.
So I want to understand, Jorge, how did it get to that point of
Mhm.
you taking a knife or any sharp thing and then cutting your vein?
I think because you have read the book, there's where I talk about emotional pain, how gruesome it is compared to physical pain.
Yeah.
You get to a point where you are numb. You just want to feel something. Wabona. I thank God that most of my scars are healed. But I believe, you see,
Oh,
since
nice.
only just a bit.
Yes.
So this was a razor blade
Oh,
because I was looking for this
the
vein.
vein,
Yeah.
yes.
So I wanted to sever this vein.
Mm.
So I got to a point, where I just wanted to feel something outside because inside was just darkness.
Yeah.
It was hollow. There wasn't anything. So I
Mm.
just wanted to feel something. And remember earlier on we talked about that voice that is saying you are worthless.
Yes.
Yeah. So I looked at this body and say, there is no need for me to, if I can show you a picture of me in 2020, I think there is one that I posted on Facebook.
Yeah.
Hokata Muriri, I wouldn't cut, I wouldn't bath maybe for 2, 3 days.
Mm.
Hey, God, I had given up on myself.
Mm.
Yeah. So those are some of the things that you are going to go through
Mm.
because you lose yourself in the process.
Mm.
Because that is why it's important that even after you recover, you need as much as possible to go to people who will help you rebuild yourself.
Mm.
Not rebuilding yourself for only the person you were then, but becoming a brand new person after the experience,
Mm-hmm.
an empowered person after you went through that process.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm.
Because some of us, when we go through this valley, on the other side, I was who he delayed through that. You want to become who you once were,
Yeah.
but that is not possible.
Mm.
That experience has created a new person in you. You need to
Mm-hmm.
embrace that person and develop a positive self-image about yourself going forward.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Many people they suffer in silence. They don't want to share anything of that sort. They don't want to share that they are depressed. They don't want to share that they want to commit suicide. Are there any signs that we can say, okay, this person this person anani depression? Are there any signs that we could really see?
Yeah. Well, obviously, I'm going to talk about my experiences,
Yeah.
but experiences differ.
Mm.
I'll give you two varying scenarios. There was a time where I wanted to hang myself immediately after coming back from a group of friends.
Mm.
After everything was fine. You know, I imagine if they had heard that that guy hanged himself the day he left here, he went to hang himself. There was a session of friends. I was there, I was happy. And then there is this incident. Now I went into a period of isolation where I didn't want to see anybody. I think for 6 months,
Mm.
where I didn't want to see anybody. I was just there by myself. So
Mm.
those are some of the symptoms. Sometimes you cannot really tell. You can never really tell. That is why sometimes we are shocked when we hear of somebody passing through suicide. How come we are not able to pick some of those things? Because people can just put up a facade
Yeah.
and smile and be happy,
Mm.
and you just say, but he was okay.
Mm.
While in actual fact, inside they were dying.
Yeah.
Yeah. So with me, there was isolation, there was self-harming,
Mm.
and my mom was able to tell through self-harming because I lost consciousness while I was bleeding.
Mm.
So they were able to find me. So those were some of the things that they identified, or no, this person is going through something.
Yeah.
And the other thing was just living inside of your head.
Mm.
We put like dualities and so on. Sometimes you just exaggerate. Some of the problems that I had, one of it was debt. I had a
Mm.
problem with because I was running businesses. They went through some problems. Now when I look at all of those things, they are not as big as I saw them then.
Mm.
Sometimes depression will just come with exaggeration,
Mm.
exaggerating things that are not as big as they seem.
Mm.
Yeah, so those are some of the things that you battle with.
Yeah. You spoke about isolation. I want to understand how dangerous that is.
Yeah. So remember, we are social beings.
Yeah.
People are social beings. So
Mm.
we can never thrive by ourselves.
Yeah.
So it's very important that we have a circle of friends or people that we interact with on a daily basis. That is how we function as people.
Mm.
So if you take yourself away from that, you're actually removing a part of yourself from within you. So
Mm.
you are not complete. A
Mm.
person is complete when they have friends, when they have family, when they have pastors, anybody that you can think of.
Yeah.
So remember, I talked about depression as a predator. Depression goes for people who are isolated, or it isolates people because that is how it operates.
Yeah.
It is there in isolation that it is going to tell you all of those things like you are worthless and all these other things. Yeah. So isolation can never work. It can never work. But at the same time, you can still be lonely in a group of people. When you talk about having people around you, we talk about meaningful relationships. Kore ha re hela gore there should be people around you. It must be meaningful. They must be adding something to you. Yeah, so that's what we mean, because you can have people and still feel nothing or get worse, in fact. Yeah.
Right. So you just spoke about depression, and it seems in your book you spoke about driving into petrol.
Yeah.
I want to understand what was going through your mind at that time.
you know, the intention was not to drive through a head of cattle.
Yeah.
No, it wasn't. Actually, I wanted to go under a truck. Yeah, so because I wanted to ensure that I genuinely go. I wasn't taking chances. So it only happened that at that particular moment when I was meditating on this, I found a head of cattle just laying on the road.
Yeah.
I think they were about, probably around 20 or 30. And I just closed my eyes and I floored the gas. And then I remember hitting the first one. That's the only one I remember. Because there was a bus heading to Maung that was following me. They are the ones who came and identified others. But I just saw one because I remember waking up in the forest because the car swerved into the forest, into the bushes. It was around summertime and the vegetation was lush. So it was dense. So the car veered off and went right into the dense bushes. So apparently one of those cows that I hit went through the windscreen, passed through me because I had some lines on my face, only to realize it was the tail as that car was passing at those high speeds. It went to the back of the car, the back seat. I didn't know about that car, that cow. I only got to know about it when people were coming. Where is the other car? Where is the other cow? That is when they said, no, let's check. And lo and behold, it was there inside the car. Yeah, and imagine if it was. So those are some of the things that you get to realize how gruesome and how deep these things can get. Because the kind of damage that I wanted to do to my body. Remember I was saying I wasn't aiming for cattle. I was aiming for a truck. Just imagine the kind of damage I was going to do to my body had I met a truck. You see, so that's how painful it can get. Yeah. Mm.
That was very intense.
No, it was.
Every time that you committed, you attempted to
Yeah.
commit suicide,
Yeah.
and you woke up somehow, go hospital,
Somehow.
go lapeng, anywhere.
All the
Did
time.
you feel disappointed to wake up?
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. Especially the one that we just finished talking about. I felt very disappointed because what pained me the most was that in the process of trying to do all this, I lost a car and still my problems are piling up. A car assists you in your daily life.
Yeah.
So I've lost a car, but I'm still here. So I was very disappointed. Yeah. So but now I thank God I wasn't able to manage all of those things.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I had regret. I thought maybe I should have just stayed the course, kept driving. Maybe I would have met a truck along the way. Maybe a truck would have done a better job. So I had all of those things. Those were not rational thoughts. They were very rational. Yeah. So those are some of the things that were going in my head. Mm.
So there's a lot of things that drove you to depression, to suicide.
Yeah.
And one of the things that you mentioned in your book was also sexual abuse.
Yeah.
That is something in society people don't really see it the way that they should see it.
That's true.
I want you to tell us how does society view sexual abuse when it comes to men or young men?
Yeah. So we have I think, that is where some of the perpetrators of these violences get away with such heinous crimes because they know for certain, they know if boys are abused, they are likely to keep quiet. Because remember, I was still a boy then.
Yeah.
And I remember when I was interviewed somewhere about this particular thing that we are talking about, the sexual abuse. It dawned on me, my very first sexual encounter was with a man. And, you know, it sank in me, this person shaped me sexually. The way I perceive things, the way I perceive everything to do with intimacy. Because this was the first person, and he was a much older man. So he was teaching me all of these things. Remember, all of these things are happening in church or in a church setting. And church is a safe space. It's supposed to be a safe space. Now you have a person who's called a prophet also, who is supposed to be a mentor, who's supposed to be your guider and all of those things, but he's taking advantage of you. I think the reason why some of these heinous crimes are not coming forward is because the perpetrators are counting on the victims to not speak up, because society has taken a posture of ridiculing. Just go through social media and a man posts, or like the incident that was shared about a man who was sexually abused by two men around Maharape area somewhere there. If you go through those comments, you will see the posture of society about such violences. And as long as we have that posture, we are very far from solving this problem.
What do you think society, people need to know and understand about men when it comes to issues like this?
I feel like, you know, there are some programs that are available nowadays for men. I feel like men should take the lead. Take the lead. I don't know if you saw this. Last year, December, I had a session for men, termed Habane. No, some of the issues men were saying there, because I attend some in Gaborone, and most of the time they're organized by women. No, it's all good and well that women are trying to help, but no, men need to take their position in society, their role in leading societies and families. We can have programs uh, tailored by women for men. We need the voice of a man on how to solve problems that are faced by men for men. So I feel like we need to come up with such an approach. We had a session around Gaborone here. It was for men also, organized by some powerful women around Gaborone. And it was disappointing to see the attendance. Almost everyone there was a woman. No, one of the things that we were talking about was particularly this sort of how can we get men to come forward? Men do not want startups and all of these things. They just want a space where they can talk, maybe have their drinks there, bride there, Sunday soccer. Go there, you understand what men are going through, because they are at their relaxed point, just enjoying and vulnerable with other men. But once you create a platform where men feel like, okay, there is a particular way that I need to talk, then you are closing them up entirely. Yeah, because even then we are talking about simple things like dress code. Once you say there is a session for men and say, this is the dress code, already you have cut off 50% of men who are eligible to come there. Just have something relaxed and let the men come. They will share their stories. Yeah.
Right, it's about understanding men what they want.
Yeah.
Right, and also them creating those programs.
True.
And attending them.
True.
Right, that is amazing and insightful.
Thank you.
In your book again, what I loved the most was that wounds do heal.
Yeah.
I want to know, when did you realize that wounds do heal? After 2021, now you were going through the most, the depression, suicide. When was that time, Helen, and okay, wounds do heal?
Well, let me answer this in two parts.
Yeah.
Remember, I don't know if I'm going way ahead of you, but you correct me. You know, I sincerely believe for depression has some spiritual influence, because, after my last suicide attempt,
Yeah.
because I believe that I had an encounter with God. I believe that I was dead, I was gone, and I believe that I was brought back.
Yeah.
That is why the CBK name, the comeback kids,
Oh, yeah.
because I believe that I was brought back. It was just grace that I was able to wake up. So after that attempt, the last attempt or that successful attempt,
Mm.
it's like, I don't know, it's like it was just this ideation of suicide was just wiped off.
Mm.
Hey, God, I can't explain it.
Yeah.
Hey, that's why I get let me explain it in two ways.
Mm.
This other part, I believe for the suicide has a spiritual attachment or something of that sort.
Mm.
It's like this other part was just erased. Those
Mm.
ideas were gone. They were gone. I was done.
Mm.
No more suicide.
Mm.
Then I was left with this wounds that we are talking about, these emotional wounds. Canada things that will lead you to have depression and ultimately want to take your life. So one of those things that I talked about was unemployment.
Mm.
After 2020, a friend of mine came through, took my certificates because Accra was running business. I wasn't employed permanently. So she came through and said, why not take your papers and then apply for a job? She did,
Mm.
came all the way from Kanye, took the papers in Francistown in Shashamoke, and then applied for a job for me. And thank God the next week I was called.
Mm.
So, for allowing, the load is being lifted one by one. Unemployment is gone.
Mm.
I no longer have to struggle with income.
Mm.
That side is okay. Now I'm left with these other things that, like the relationship that had ended, and
Mm.
all of those other things. That is when we have there's counselors, therapists coming through because we need to be able to identify this problem, this is how we solve it.
Yeah.
We shouldn't just take a general approach to solving a problem. This seems spiritual. Okay, let's go the spiritual way. But this particular one seems social. Let's deal with it socially. This one
Mm.
is financial. How can we address this one? We address it
Mm.
financially. You don't just say, no, go to church, be prayed for. No, everything has a solution.
Mm.
Yeah,
Or you take everything step by
true.
step. You also mentioned that you had an encounter with God.
Yeah.
Is that what helped you? You're saying that's what helped you to overcome all the suicide, the depression, everything was just
Yeah.
gone.
Because Messi, it's like I wish I had the powers to take you through that process again,
Yeah.
for you to genuinely. Because the more I try to explain this to people,
Mm.
it's like I'm doing it injustice.
Mm.
Kora, I wish I had some powers to just take you and go with you through this
Yeah.
journey so that you feel what I feel, see
Mm.
what I saw. Because I remember before waking up from 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 death, let me say from death,
Yeah.
before waking up, it's like there was a voice, a very deep commanding voice that just came
Mm.
and said, it was like, Ghana, I remember I was going up. I guess that's what I was talking about in the book. I was going up. So I saw my dead relatives,
Mm.
particularly my father and my cousin. So they came and they said, we are here to accompany you. So
Mm.
there was a church up there.
Mm.
It was a very old church. So, my soul was drawn to that.
Mm.
It was very peaceful. There was nothing about this process that was painful. So I wanted to go. And on that other side, it was very peaceful. It's like this church had two doors. So you enter through this one and then there is an exit. So I wanted to go through that church because although it was old, it looked very attractive, enticing, and everything. I just wanted to be inside that church. It was whitish in color. But on that other side, there was peace.
Mm.
It's like people were just living their best life. So this happens around three times. And then a deep commanding voice comes and say, breathe. And then it's like I was galloping for air. And then that is how I started breathing again. And my body was cold, my jaws were locked. I was genuinely waking up from something.
Mm.
I term it death, but people call it whatever they call it.
Yeah.
I term it death. I
Mm.
woke up from death.
Mm.
Mm.
That was an amazing encounter.
No, it was.
That was really an amazing encounter. And I really love when you mentioned that wounds do heal and also the emotional damage that you went through, and also, again, helping us understand that we have to take it parts by parts. Financially, you take it on,
Mhm.
emotionally, you take it on. You don't just go, okay, I need to go healing and then go all inside. Mr. Bahomi, we have spoken a lot about what you wrote in this book, The Valley of the Shadow of Death. And there is so much that a person can take from this book. There is so much that a person can learn, and there is so much insight that you have shared. I want also for you to share just an advice. What would you say to a young boy right now who is watching you on mental health?
Emma. No, thank you. One of the things that I want to emphasize, one thing that I wish I knew earlier in life, or one thing somebody could have said to me as I was coming up, is that you are going to make mistakes. It's perfectly okay to make mistakes. It's how you deal with that counts. You don't have to beat yourself up. Mistakes are a part of life. The reason I was talking about some of the things that I went through, some were self-made. Some were self-made
Yeah.
by me. So I got myself into those problems. So it's important that people know, as part of growth, you're going to make those mistakes, and they're a part of your growth and your becoming. Um,
All right. What is also that one advice that you would give to a man right now who is struggling with depression and also wanting or trying to attempt suicide?
um, no, I just want to encourage them by saying, asking for help does not mean that you are weak. Actually, asking for help just shows that you want to remain strong. You want to retain that position of strength. So it's perfectly okay to ask for help.
Yeah.
And I want to advise women also that when men come to you in their place of vulnerability, let us not use that against them tomorrow. Let's hold this and cherish it. It's part of who they are. And for the mere fact that they came to you for assistance, it means that they saw something in you that I can be vulnerable around this person. And please don't make them regret it.
All right, that is so amazing. Well, you have heard it from Keabetswe Bagomi with his book, The Valley of the Shadow of Death. He shares with us that wounds do heal and that you can also see light at the end of a tunnel. Well, thank you so much, Keabetswe Bagomi, for coming to our podcast. We look forward to having you in another episode.
No, definitely, definitely. And thank you so much for having me. And I pray that this podcast reaches multitudes of people. May people find healing through you. And
Amen.
may God use you to touch every corner of this country.
Amen.
Because we are battling with this problem, this scourge of depression and suicidation. And I believe that you are taking your place. This is a calling. It's not just a mere podcast. It's a
Yeah.
calling. So embrace it with love. And may God richly bless you.
Amen. Thank you so
No,
much.
thank you.
Well, you have heard it from Keabetswe Bagomi with the very first episode of Sidilega Maikutlo. From us, it is love. Stay safe, stay healthy, and you know what? Your mental health matters. Thank you. We will see you again on another episode of Sidilega Maikutlo. I am your host, Messi Gaolatlhege, and I love you.